just answering questions with Web Tech. These are related to each other. You should look into this YouTube channel. He is hardcore anti-Second Amendment, and he's mentioned you on his streams he does every week. He says he wants to debate you on conspiracy theories. He's really heavy into that scene. He's also started his own offshoot of Christianity called his religion, named after him, because he thinks the Bible was edited by Satan and humans can't understand the real word of God except him. Okay, we'll cover that pretty quickly. Number one, for those of you who aren't aware of it, from what we can learn from people at the time and later on double checking it, the Bible, the parts that were used, are derived from works by many, many people from 300 BC to 300 AD, written by individuals. At the time these were written, they were well understood by the people at the time to be parables, literally named parables in some cases, mythology, and oral history, or variations thereof. And that's it. The idea that this has to be created by Satan or edited by Satan or anything like that belies the fact that a large portion of that stuff used to include a bunch of things that aren't allowed anymore, although you can find it, and they didn't destroy the information. They just decided not to include a bunch of things that were considered part of the Word of God to not be, because it was inconvenient for whatever political or ideological group was running things. Sounds familiar. You can look up the Apocrypha and lots of other works. That Bible you got is the Reader's Digest version of everything that was available at the time that was considered to have equal value. A particular group of people wanted to have their own mythology, and that's what it is. It's their own history. Someone would say Christianity was a created one. All cultures seem to do this. They reinvent themselves. As for the Second Amendment, I don't think it is explicit enough. I think it causes problems the way it's written, and we should amend it so that there's no more arguments on it. That means instead of having representatives argue because they're politicians and it's not in their best interest to ever solve a problem, we should all en masse vote on each component we want to do. That means that you'd have to deal with the majority of people in this country deciding what the majority of people want. That means you'd have to trust your fellow Americans to pick a law and force it down the throat of the government. And in my opinion, it should also include completely erasing, or at least rewriting, all of the different firearms acts, because the primary one, the National Firearms Act, contains a bunch of broken off pieces from rules and regulations that were thrown out, but they were left there and are being misused. As for someone creating their own religion, this has happened repeatedly, so I don't really see this as being anything more than a person trying to create his own cult. This individual that's being discussed, which I'm not naming, I've even erased him from the screen so I won't accidentally say his name, had a group of videos up about his theories about the missing hard drive Stephen Paddock was supposed to have had. For those of you who don't know, it wasn't missing. The police didn't recognize a solid-state hard drive that looked like a random circuit board inside of the casing. And they also found another hard drive. Just, it wasn't missing. It was only missing until they found it. That's it. It's not missing. It's even listed on the hardware list of things that were found at the Mesquite location or whatever. But anyway, someone said, I got the Runway Sub Cal 410 survival shotgun kit recently. Do you think it's safe to put in 3-inch shells? Pretty sure the PSI rating of the pipes is over 20,000 PSI. Pipe or tubing? Now I'm going to discuss this pretty simple. This is a piece of equipment that is sold for over $100, and it is mainly two components. Here we go. The Runway Sub Cal Popa Survival 410 shotgun kit includes a barrel, which is actually a piece of tubing, not pipe or a barrel. If you're not aware of it, most shotguns, depending on which size you're getting, are actually a type of pipe or tubing. And if you take pipe and heat treat it, it becomes stronger. And the tubing is in many cases made with really high precision, more than there is for pipe. And it includes a firing pin and a breech block, a safety pin, and instructions. It also is supposed to include another piece of tubing that's supposed to be the receiver-ish thing, and it's just a bare piece of metal usually. It has instructions listing half-inch pipe fittings as 5-inch nipple, 3-inch nipple, a T, half-inch T, 3 caps, a 90-degree elbow, 2 4-inch nipples, 2 45-degree elbows, and 2 jam nipples. I held a straight face saying all of that. Bravo. So anyway, the problem with this is it's $100 for really basically 2 components, maybe even just one, and also a spring so that it will prevent you from accidentally setting it off. For those of you who aren't aware of it, it has a piece of pipe that's the same diameter as the base of a shotgun shell, which is 0.47 inches, according to the Wikipedia article, and measuring one. Now what that means is it's a 410 shotgun, which if you were going to call it a caliber, it would have an end diameter at the muzzle of 41 caliber or thereabouts. That's the standard it's to for shooting a slug that's actually just 41 caliber, it's 410. The base of the shell would be like a 47 caliber, so if the entire barrel or tubing or pipe matched the base of the shell so that it would have the least possibility of any kind of screw up, so that it have an overbore diameter and would just throw stuff, it would be a 47 caliber barrel. Okay? So, a DIY barrel can be any 0.47 inch inner diameter steel pipe or tube, and other materials are actually available too. The outer tube could be any pipe or tube that would fit over whatever one you pick. Now, if you look at the different information listed below in the links, you'll find that you're better off with tubing. Unless you get a piece of pipe that's a smaller diameter slightly and then drill it out and then clean up the interior and do a lot of work, you're better off getting drawn over mandrel or seamless or other type of tubing, because tubing can be purchased that happens to fit almost exactly the right diameter. It's also made to a better standard than ordinary water pipe and or mechanical pipe fittings. But yes, the device you're describing would tolerate a 3-inch shell very easily because it's probably made out of the same thing. But again, at $100 some odd, let's discuss about the methodology I would use. The DIY 410 barrel could be fitted into a half-inch pipe, since they use half-inch pipes pieces. The listing is below. You can look up how to do it. So you'd be able to make the receiver. And you wouldn't have to modify it because it would already be a half-inch pipe. The one that they include seems to be modified and seems to be a different type of diameter. Now, that would be a Schedule 10 or Schedule 40 pipe. Schedule 10 piping is very hard to find, so you'd start off with Schedule 40 pipe. Now that has an inner diameter of 0.622 inches. So you might want to look for a piece of metal tubing that has a 0.47 inner diameter and a 0.622 outer diameter. So let's look it up. I should point out that inner diameter very close to furniture grade steel legs for chairs and tables, just saying. So anyway, let's go for it. Shire Corporation has a 3/4 inch outer diameter, declared name, 0.68 inner diameter, and 0.035 inch wall piece of seamless stainless steel round tubing that's 316L that would work as a receiver, but it wouldn't be half-inch pipe. Online Metals has grade 2 welded titanium round tubing that's 3/4 inch outer diameter and 0.68 inner diameter. Now why is this important? Well, the tubing you find, that would work for a 410 shotgun barrel, likes an inner diameter of 0.68 for the thick one, and for the thin one, 0.62. Just like a half-inch pipe that's Schedule 10 that's hard to find. They're basically just selling Schedule 10 pipes. Schedule 10 pipes, if you look for them, are usually stainless steel. They're just reselling stainless steel. Amazon has 6061 T6 drawn, perfectly smooth, aluminum tubing that's 3/4 inch outer diameter, 0.68 inch inner diameter, and 0.35 wall thickness. This works out to about 1 millimeter. You need 2 millimeters around the cartridge. So if your barrel has 1 millimeter and your outer casing has 1 millimeter, you're good. They also sell brass round tubing That's 3/4 inch outer diameter, 0.67 inner diameter, and 0.04 inch wall. Just saying. Now, EJ Metals has the 0.625 outer diameter tubing that's 0.471 inch inner diameter. That's a 0.72 inch thick wall. Now, that's a bit bigger than the shell. And that's carbon steel round mechanical tubing, sold as 5/8 tubing. You can also find 5/8 pipe or tubing some places. It's an unusual size. It's technically part of the standard from years ago, but it was dropped because nobody uses it for making pipes and for houses. And that's carbon steel. Boyer Steel has one that's 0.688 outer diameter. This is the larger one. It's thicker. It has a 0.109 or almost a 0.11 inch wall thickness, and the inner diameter on it is exactly 0.470 inner diameter. It's an ASTM specification A313 T5 drawn over mandrel tube, which is virtually the same thing as shotgun barrels. It is drawn over mandrel, and if it's heat treated, annealed, processed, and then reheat treated in the right way, you could make this into a very, very good one. All of the pipe that I've given you the information about are $5 per foot. All of them are that or cheaper. And again, the only thing missing is a breech plug that would just fit into the larger piece of metal pipe with a firing pin. Well, you drill a hole in any metal, but soft, mild steel. Drill it dead center. And then shove a broken drill bit in it and make sure it's 1 millimeter diameter and sticks out about 1 millimeter. It'll work. That's the one I'd recommend. And then when you do it, you put it into the larger outer pipe and drill a hole through that and pin it in place with a nail. You can also make what I did, which is the expando cork that's for another purpose, but would actually do that. It doesn't have a firing pin, obviously. It's for corking things. But it would cork it up and you could have a firing pin stuck in the middle of it. Just don't get hardened steel. Now, why would I explain all of this? The Popa shotgun by Sub Cal, a Runway Sub Cal. They made all sorts of, they made subcaliber adapters for shotguns. You may have noticed the outer diameter in one of these pipes is almost the same as the inside diameter of a shotgun, 12 gauge. Basically, the metal piping they were using to make subcaliber adapters is basically a 1/2 inch hunk of pipe with the outside reamed down so that it'll just chamber properly, and then it has neck changes in the inside. And the inside diameter, the outside of it. And the inner diameter is the 0.70 or 0.71, excuse me, 0.47 or 0.471 inner diameter steel tubing. They buy tubing for $5 a foot and sell it for $100 with some parts. It includes a spring and instructions and that, but the majority of the volume of the gun is being purchased by you when you get this, because you have to buy it as parts kit. It is stuff you buy at the hardware store for $35, and this stuff, dead ass, is going to cost you maybe another $30. This is a lot of money to spend on something that used to be just made by anybody. Now, also, you can look up Gary Cold Iron making a 410 shotgun, and among other people doing the same thing. Just look up DIY 410 shotgun. I was going to do a video on this kit, but I didn't want to promote it because it seems like an excessive amount of money. When teaching people how to do DIY and survival, making it to where they rely on a manufacturer or something disables their ability to do this. Me telling you, links below in the description, go buy 5 feet of it and have fun. If you take a 5-foot section, chop it in half, you have 2 barrels. Double barrel. And that'll cost you $25 to make the barrels. And please learn how to make a firing pin for it, and use Cold Iron's method where it holds the firing pin or releases it, and then you can put a hammer on the back if you want. You can make it slam fire or trigger fired or striker fired. I'm going to be doing a tutorial set on this. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Full DIY, not partial.